Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you could stop by today because today I am finally going to be doing something besides painting. I don't know why, but lately I've just been really into painting. I've been doing a bunch of oil painting and then digital painting, but today I felt like sculpting something. I know it's not fully like an art doll, but I wanted to dive into the clay a bit, and I thought it would be really fun to make a fake dragon mount for my wall. Anyways, let's get started on the struggles because I immediately struggled trying to figure out how to attach all of this to the wooden base. So I wanted to stick out quite a bit, so I need to make some type of frame, but kind of limited, didn't want to go buy anything new, was trying to work with what I had, so I figured a piece of PVC pipe would be a good base. This part won't go through the oven or anything, so I don't have to worry about anything like making sure it won't melt or anything. So attempting as hard as I can to get this screwed onto the board and stable. Eventually I got it decently stable, and then I started wrapping it in foil to give it some more bulk to it because that's way too thin for a neck. Once I got the neck as stable as I thought I could get it, I started adding clay to it. Now, I'm actually going to be doing a bunch of epoxy clay for this, so I don't have to worry about baking it because it's attached to wood and PVC, and I just don't want to have to bother putting it in the oven. There will be pieces that we will make that will go in the oven, but they will be attached later on, so I don't have to worry too much about them melting things. So I started adding clay to the very base of the neck and the top section. With the top section, I'm also adding wires. That way when we add the mouth pieces, the top and bottom, I have something to attach it to. Now while my epoxy clay is drying, I'm going to get my original Sculpey clay and we're going to start working on the inside sections of the mouth. We need to make the top and the bottom. Now to make these match up as best I can, I'm going to use pieces of paper that I've cut to the shapes that I want, and I'm going to trace those. Next, I'm going to add some detailing to the inside of the mouth pieces. I'm just going to add some ridges and texture and stuff, and then I need to mark out where we're going to add our teeth. Now we're not going to add our teeth yet, we're going to have the mouth more put together before we do that, but I do need to make holes and spots where they're going to go and be attached. The teeth will actually be epoxy clay, and again, we're doing original Sculpey right now, so once I'm done with this, we're going to put these in the oven, probably bake them for about 45 minutes at 275 Fahrenheit. Once our mouthpieces are out of the oven and have cooled to touch, I'm then going to glue them in place on the metal frame that we have sticking out of the neck. Now, I'm just using hot glue, nothing fancy right now, because I'm not too worried about this being This is really not the way it's going to permanently attach. This is just going to hold it in place so that we can add other clay that will attach it and hold it together better than this. But I need them in place for now. I can't rely on the clay to dry and hold it in place. While I'm at it, I'm also going to start building up some more tin foil around the head because there really isn't anything on the top of the head to make the head. It's very, very flat, so I need some more tin foil. So I'm going to work on doing that and kind of thickening up the neck a little bit. Once I get everything built up, I'm then going to start adding clay to the rest of it. So I'm going to start with the inside of the mouth. We've got a decent gap between the top and bottom section, so we need to make the back of his throat. So I'm going to fill that with clay, and then I'm going to work on sculpting it and leaving a spot available for adding a tongue. Now for the tongue, I actually have a really cool idea. I figured since it's going to be a mount, so it's something that's been hunted before, I want to have an arrow going through its mouth. And because his mouth is open, it's going to show in that part of his mouth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of wood, which will be our temporary arrow, and I'm going to be sculpting the tongue to wrap around an arrow that's piercing him. So again, just going to put this in temporarily. We'll replace it with not a real arrow, but an arrow that I have made or will make. And then I'm just going to use that as a guide so I can wrap the tongue around something and get it in the position that I want. Now, I'm gonna have to keep messing with the tongue as it's drying because there's sections of it, like the forked section, that is still sticking out and doesn't really have a lot of support, and it's soft, so it keeps kind of wanting to sag. So I will have to keep an eye on this while it's drying and keep putting it back into place until it can hold itself into place. But once it's more firmed up and I don't have to worry about it falling off, I'm going to start adding more clay to the face. So we'll start adding more of a lip around the mouth and then building up the top section of the face. Now for the top of the head, I'm not completely covering it in clay, but I am adding a good chunk, mainly because I need a place to put the eyes, so I need to build up some facial muscles that'll actually hold the eyes in place. For the eyes, I have these really cool red custom ones that I made, and once I get to that point, we'll add them in place and start building up the eyelids around them. Now, as I'm sculpting the rest of the outside of the face, I am going to have to remember that our arrow comes through the face. So I'm going to take another piece of wood and I'm going to mark out where that is going to go. That way I can drill through the clay. I'm just going to use a basic drill bit. Most of this clay is pretty soft, so it just goes right through. But I do need to mark it so that I don't accidentally go in the wrong spot. Lastly, I need to add the teeth. So I'm going to make a bunch of different sized cones and insert them into the spots that we have in the gums. Now I'm just going to have to let everything completely dry. Usually this type of clay takes about 24 to 48 hours, and then we can start adding more details. So we'll add like fabric and paint and all of that. So the first thing that I'm going to paint is going to be the stand. I actually want to have it a really pretty glittery gold. So I'm going to start with a brown as a base color, and then we'll end up putting a layer of resin down and sprinkling our glitter over the entire surface. This is one of those things that takes a while to dry, sadly, so I will have to wait for it to finish drying before I can add anything else to it. I have something to sew in the meantime anyways, because I want to add like a wrinkly, scaly neck to him. So it's going to be a little soft. It's not going to be just laid flat against our tinfoil neck. It's going to kind of wiggle around. But I have my gold fake leather scales that I'm going to cut into sections, and then I have a nice kind of pink fluffy fur fabric that I'm going to attach in between the layers of scales. So I'm going to make a section for his bottom neck with this. This did take a little bit of time, but I feel like it was really worth it. After I have that sewn and the clay has finished curing, I'm going to attach this to the bottom section of the neck. I'm just going to hot glue it, and then I'm going to start covering other sections of the neck and face and fur fabrics and stuff. Just kind of doing whatever I want. I'm going to add a lot of fluff to it too, because I want it to be kind of pretty. And then I even have like peacock colored scaling that I want to add to the face too. Along with the scales that I sewn together for the underside of his neck, I also made some ears. I wanted to have really long pointed ones for him. So I sewed those together, and then I just glued them in place as well, just on the side of his face. Now when I started painting, I first thought I was going to go very pale with everything to match the pinks, but as I was adding the like peacock type scaling to him, I realized I really want to add more blue and darken his face up a bit more. So I really went with it, and we went very dark. I have to lighten it up here and there, but again, started off very dark and then slowly started adding more pinks back to his inside of his mouth and things like that. And then our last little detail that I need to add is our arrow. So to make the arrow long enough for how I want it to fit through the mouth, I am using two separate pieces of wood that we will push in place, and the seam will basically be behind the tongue, so you won't see that it's two separate pieces of wood. It'll look like just one. But I have two pieces. I'm going to attach some clay to the tip of one to make the arrowhead basically, and then for the like feathers that'll be on the other end, I'm going to use some fabric and glue that around and cut it to fit. Once that's dried, I'm going to start painting it, and then once it's done being painted and dried again, I'm going to just insert it into place. Sadly, I haven't had a chance to go pick up the mounting brackets to hang this piece on the wall, but I will eventually, so my final shots of him are just me holding him and showing him off. But yeah, we'll get him mounted onto a wall eventually. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I had a lot of fun sculpting something. I know I need to start up on art doll stuff, but eventually we'll get to one. I just haven't thought of anything that I really want to make art doll wise. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye!